I should have seen it coming, but sitting at that Thanksgiving table, surrounded by her entire family in Pflugerville, Texas, I genuinely thought we were just having dinner. Her grandmother hosted every year at the old ranch-style house she'd lived in since the 70s. Turkey, stuffing, green bean casserole, the whole traditional Texas spread. Her mom, Linda, spent 3 days preparing everything with military precision. I brought a bottle of wine and helped move furniture around that afternoon, setting up extra folding chairs in the dining room. We sat down around 3 o'clock. Her dad, Charles, carved the turkey while Linda brought out the side dishes. Her sister Karen was there with her husband and their 2 kids. Her uncle James and cousin Paul had driven down from Dallas. And there was Grandma Barb, 78 years old, sitting at the head of the table like she always did, watching everything with those sharp blue eyes. Everything seemed normal at first. We passed plates around, made small talk about work and the unusually warm November weather. Then Paul asked me how business was going at the garage. Before I could answer, Diana cut in with that laugh of hers, the one that always had an edge to it. "Oh, you know how it is with those little shops. Austin works hard, but it's not exactly bringing in the big money." She smiled, but her tone was dismissive. "I mean, I'm grateful he has steady work, but let's be honest, I'm the one keeping us afloat financially." Paul nodded politely, but I caught the look that passed between him and Uncle James. Karen shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I set down my fork and looked at my wife. "That's interesting," I said carefully, "considering I've been paying your student loans for the past 3.5 years. Diana's smile faltered for just a second before she recovered. "Austin, don't be dramatic. We share finances. It's all one pot." She turned back to the table. "Besides, my job at the BMW dealership brings in good commission. Someone has to handle the real money in this family." The room got quieter. Her dad cleared his throat uncomfortably. Linda started fussing with the cranberry sauce, clearly trying to redirect the conversation. But Diana wasn't done. "I mean, let's be realistic here," she continued, addressing the whole table now. "Austin's got his little garage, and that's fine, but someone has to be the adult when it comes to finances. He's pretty much useless when it comes to handling real money." That word, useless, hung in the air like a bad smell. I watched her family's faces. Her mother looked mortified. Charles had stopped carving and was just holding the knife, staring at his daughter. Uncle James was studying his plate like it held the answers to the universe. Then Grandma Barb spoke up. Just one word. "Enough?" Everyone stopped. Diana tried to keep her smile going. "Grandma, I'm just being honest about..." I said enough. Grandma Barb's voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of 8 decades of not tolerating nonsense. She set down her napkin and looked directly at Diana. "You want to talk about who's useless? Let's talk about who's been paying your college debt for 3.5 years, while you've been telling everyone he can't handle money." Diana's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" The table went completely silent. Even the kids stopped fidgeting. Grandma Barb continued, her voice steady and clear. "First National called me last week. They had my number on file as a reference from when I co-signed your car loan, back when you were 22. They were confirming the automatic payments from your husband's business account. $450 every month, Diana, for 42 months. You could have heard a pin drop. Diana was opening and closing her mouth like a fish out of water. That's a mistake. They must have gotten confused about. It's not a mistake." Grandma Barb looked at me, then back at her granddaughter. "Austin's been taking care of your responsibilities while you've been driving around in that fancy BMW, telling everyone he's useless." Linda's mouth had dropped open. Charles slowly put down the carving knife. Karen was staring at her sister like she'd never seen her before. "Grandma, you don't understand how marriage works," Diana started desperately. "We share everything. It's complicated. The payments come out of our joint account. So, technically..." "Don't you dare." Grandma Barb's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Don't you sit in my house and lie to my face after I raised you better than that." She stood up slowly, leaning on the table for support. Her eyes never left Diana's face. "I've been married for 56 years, child. I know what a partnership looks like. What you're doing isn't marriage. It's theft. You've been stealing this man's generosity and his reputation." Diana looked around the table desperately, searching for any support. Nobody met her eyes. Uncle James was shaking his head slightly. Paul looked embarrassed to be related to her. Grandma Barb wasn't finished. "While you've been calling him useless, he's been proving he's anything but. $450 a month isn't pocket change for a small business owner. That's sacrifice. That's love. That's the kind of man who deserves better than what he's getting. She looked directly at me then, her expression softening just slightly. Divorce her, she said clearly. You deserve better than this. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the distant sound of football from the neighbor's house seemed to stop. Diana's face was bright red. Whether from shame or anger, I couldn't tell. Grandma, you can't just... I can, and I did. Grandma Barb sat back down, picked up her napkin, and calmly resumed eating. Pass the gravy, would you, Charles? I pushed back from the table and stood up. Every eye in the room was on me, but I felt strangely calm. For the first time in years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I'm going home, I said quietly. Thank you for dinner, Mrs. Peterson. Diana grabbed my arm as I walked past. Wait, you can't just leave. We need to talk about this. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then at her face. No, we don't. I pulled free and walked toward the door. Behind me, I could hear Diana trying to explain, trying to control the damage, but her family wasn't buying it. Charles was asking her point blank about the loan payments. Linda was crying quietly. Karen was telling her kids to go play in the other room. I got in my truck and drove home to Round Rock, leaving Diana to face the wreckage she'd created. The house was quiet when I got there around 6. I sat in my recliner with the lights off, just processing everything that had happened. 3.5 years of quietly paying her debts while she told everyone I was incompetent with money. 3.5 years of letting her family think I was some kind of deadbeat while I kept our finances solid. She came through the door an hour later, slamming it behind her. Are you happy now? She threw her purse on the counter. You completely humiliated me in front of my entire family. I didn't move from the chair. I humiliated you? Yes. You sat there and let my grandmother attack me like that. You could have said something. You could have defended me. Defended you from the truth? She froze for a second, then recovered. It's not like that. She twisted everything, made it sound like I was using you. I turned on the lamp beside my chair. She looked defensive, angry, but underneath it all I could see panic. You called me useless in front of your entire family. You told them you were carrying me financially. How exactly is that twisting anything? I was venting. People do that. It's normal marriage stuff. I stood up and faced her. Venting is complaining to your sister that I left dishes in the sink. What you did was character assassination. Oh, stop being so dramatic. My family knows how I am. They know I exaggerate sometimes. Your grandmother didn't think it was exaggeration, and now your whole family knows the truth. She started pacing the living room. This is unbelievable. You're acting like I committed some horrible crime. So, I got a little carried away talking about our finances. Big deal. You didn't get carried away. You lied, and you've been lying for years. She stopped pacing and pointed at me. I never asked you to pay my loans. You offered. You said you wanted to help. I did want to help, but I didn't expect you to turn around and tell everyone you were supporting me. That's a pretty sick way to repay generosity. I never said I was supporting you specifically. You implied it repeatedly. Tonight was just the first time. Someone called you out on it. She sat down hard in the chair across from me, putting her head in her hands. When she looked up, her eyes were wet. My family is never going to look at me the same way, she said quietly. Do you understand that? My own grandmother basically disowned me at the dinner table. I felt something cold settle in my chest. She didn't disown you. She told me to divorce you. There's a difference. Her head snapped up. So you're thinking about it? Divorce? Are you seriously asking me that after what you did tonight? She stood up again, switching tactics. Look, I messed up. I admit it. I shouldn't have said those things. I was stressed, and I took it out on you in front of everyone. But we can fix this. We can talk to my family, explain what? That you've been disrespecting me publicly for years, and tonight was just the first time anyone noticed? That's not fair. Your own grandmother had to defend me at Thanksgiving dinner because you were too busy tearing me down to remember that I've been supporting you this whole time. She wiped her eyes. I know I screwed up, but don't let one bad night destroy our marriage. We can get through this. One bad night? I shook my head. This has been building for years. You've been dismissive, entitled, and ungrateful. Tonight you just said it out loud in front of witnesses. So what? You're just going to give up? After everything we've built together? I looked around our living room, the furniture I'd bought, in the house I'd qualified for, paid for with money from the business I'd built. What have we built, Diana? A house I pay for? Bills I cover while you pretend you're doing me a favor by existing? She flinched. That's cruel. It's accurate. She sat back down, crying harder now. Please, we can go to counseling. We can work on this. I'll apologize to my family. I'll make it right. You can't make this right. Your grandmother saw through you. Your parents saw through you. Even your sister looked uncomfortable. They'll get over it. Families fight. They forgive. Maybe they will forgive you, but I'm done. She looked up sharply. What does that mean? It means I'm not interested in fixing this. You showed me exactly who you are tonight, and your grandmother confirmed what I've been too stupid to see for years. You cannot be serious. I'm completely serious. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow, we figure out next steps. She stood up, angry now. You're overreacting. One fight and you're ready to throw away our whole marriage. That's insane. This wasn't one fight. This was the culmination of years of you taking me for granted and expecting me to smile through it. Fine. She grabbed her purse. If you want space, I'll give you space. But when you calm down and think about this rationally, you're going to realize you're making a huge mistake. She went upstairs. I heard the guest room door slam. I sat back down in my chair and pulled out my phone. I had 2 missed calls from Linda and a text message from Grandma Barb. Her message was simple. Call me when you get a chance. I meant what I said. I stared at the message for a long time before turning off my phone and closing my eyes. Tomorrow was going to be difficult, but at least now the truth was finally out. The next morning, I woke up early and called Grandma Barb. She picked up on the second ring. I was hoping you would call. Mrs. Peterson, I wanted to thank you for what you said yesterday. Don't thank me. I only said what needed to be said. That girl has been out of line for too long. I sat down at my kitchen table. How much did you know about how she talks about me? There was a pause. Enough. Linda mentioned things over the years. Little comments about how you weren't ambitious enough, weren't social enough. I always thought it was strange, considering you were the one with steady work and steady income. She told them I wasn't ambitious? Among other things, but I never had proof until the bank called. When they told me about those loan payments, everything clicked into place. Why did you wait until yesterday to say something? Because I needed to see it with my own eyes. And when she stood there calling you useless in front of the whole family, I knew I'd heard enough. That kind of disrespect doesn't get better with time, son. It only gets worse. I heard Diana moving around upstairs. I'm thinking about filing for separation. Good, you should. Her voice was firm. I've been married for 56 years. I know what a partnership looks like. What you two have, isn't it? Her parents might not see it that way. Her parents know exactly what she is. They're just too polite to say it out loud. But after yesterday, nobody can pretend anymore. We talked for a few more minutes before I heard footsteps on the stairs. I should go. Call me if you need anything. I mean that. I ended the call just as Diana came into the kitchen. She looked exhausted, her eyes puffy from crying. Who was that? She asked, pouring herself coffee. Your grandmother. She didn't look at me. Of course it was. I'm sure she had plenty to say. She was checking on me. How nice. My own grandmother taking your side. Her voice was bitter. She's not taking sides. She's calling out bad behavior. Diana slammed her coffee mug down. Can we not do this right now? I barely slept. Neither did I. She sat across from me at the table. So what happens now? You're serious about this separation thing? Yes. She stared at her coffee. My mom called me last night. She thinks I owe you an apology. Do you? She looked up. Do you want me to apologize? Only if you mean it. Fine, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things at dinner. I was out of line. I waited. What? She asked. That's not enough. You're apologizing for getting caught, not for what you did. Oh my God, she stood up. What do you want from me? You want me to grovel, to beg? I said I was sorry. You've been disrespecting me for years. An apology doesn't fix that. So nothing I say will matter. You've already made up your mind. Pretty much. She grabbed her phone off the counter. I'm going to my parents' house. I can't deal with this right now. That's fine. Take whatever you need. She stopped at the door. You're making a mistake. When you're ready to talk like adults, let me know. She left. The house went quiet again. I spent the rest of the morning going through our finances, bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents. Everything was in my name except her student loans, which I'd been paying like an idiot. Around noon, Linda called. "I'm not trying to take sides," she started. "It's okay, Mrs. Peterson, I understand." "No, you don't," she sighed. "I need to apologize. I've known for a while that she wasn't being fair to you. I should have said something sooner." That caught me off guard. "You knew?" "Not everything, but enough. The way she talked about you when you weren't around. The comments about money. I thought it was just marriage stress. I didn't realize how deep it went until yesterday." After we hung up, I sat there staring at the phone. Her own mother was on my side. Her grandmother had publicly told me to divorce her. And Diana was at her parents' house, probably trying to convince them that I was overreacting. I picked up the phone again and called a family law attorney my buddy at the auto parts store had recommended months ago. I'd saved the number without thinking I'd ever use it. The receptionist scheduled me for a consultation on Monday morning. When Diana came home that evening, she was calmer, but still defensive. "I talked to my parents," she said. "They think we should try counseling before making any big decisions. I have an appointment with a lawyer on Monday." Her face went white. "You what?" "I'm not interested in counseling. I'm interested in ending this marriage." "You can't be serious. You're actually going through with this?" "Yes." She sat down slowly. "Over one fight at Thanksgiving dinner?" "Over years of disrespect that culminated in you humiliating me at Thanksgiving dinner." "This is insane. You're throwing away everything because I made one mistake." "It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern. And yesterday, your family finally saw it." She put her head in her hands. "I can't believe this is happening." "Believe it." She looked up, her eyes hard. "Fine. If that's how you want to play it, don't expect me to make this easy." I stood up. "I don't expect anything from you anymore. That's the whole point." Monday couldn't come fast enough. The lawyer was straightforward and professional. His name was James Rodriguez, and he'd been practicing family law in Texas for 15 years. "Tell me about your situation," he said. I laid it all out. The Thanksgiving dinner, the years of financial support, the public humiliation. He took notes and nodded occasionally. "Do you own property together?" "The house is in my name. I bought it before we got married." "Joint accounts?" "One checking account. I deposit my paycheck there. She has access but rarely uses it for bills." "Any kids?" "No." He leaned back. "This should be straightforward. No kids, property was separate, and you can document the loan payments. Do you want to pursue any of that money back?" "No, I just want out." "That makes it easier. We can file for a simple no-fault divorce. If she contests it, things get more complicated. But based on what you've told me, I doubt she has much ground to stand on." The paperwork moved faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, James filed the dissolution petition. Diana was served at her parents' house where she'd been staying most nights. Her lawyer contacted mine with a list of demands. She wanted half the value of the house, spousal support, and reimbursement for emotional distress. James called me after reviewing it. "This is a fantasy list. She has no legal basis for any of this. So what do? We respond with the facts. Property acquired before marriage, documented separate finances, and no grounds for spousal support since you both work and the marriage was short-term. Her lawyer is fishing. Will this go to court? Only if she wants to waste money. Most likely her lawyer will explain reality to her and she'll settle." He was right. 3 days later, her lawyer sent a revised proposal. She dropped the house claim and the emotional distress nonsense. She only wanted to keep her car and personal belongings. "That's reasonable," James said. "I recommend we accept and move forward." I agreed. By early February, we had a settlement. Diana would take her BMW, her clothes, and any furniture she wanted from the guest room. I would keep the house, my truck, and everything else. Most importantly, she would assume responsibility for her own student loans going forward. The day we signed the final papers, I saw her in the parking lot of the courthouse. She looked smaller somehow, tired. "Can we talk for a minute?" she asked. We sat on a bench outside. It was cold for Texas, but neither of us suggested going inside. "I talked to a therapist," she said. "She thinks I have some issues with self-worth, that I put people down to make myself feel better." "That sounds about right." She looked at me. "Do you hate me?" "No, I'm disappointed, but I don't hate you." My grandmother still won't talk to me. My mom barely does. They'll come around eventually, families do. She pulled her coat tighter around herself. I never meant for things to get this bad. I thought I was just venting. I didn't realize how much damage I was doing. That was the problem. You didn't realize. And by the time you did, it was too late. We sat in silence for a moment. What are you going to do now? I asked. Move back in with my parents for a while, save some money, figure out how to pay those loans myself. She laughed bitterly. Turns out being an adult is harder when someone isn't covering for you. You'll manage. She stood up. Well, I guess this is it. I guess so. She walked to her car without looking back. I watched her drive away, then went inside to sign the last of the documents. James shook my hand. Congratulations. You're officially single. Thanks. Any plans for the holidays? Quiet ones. Just me and some peace and quiet. He smiled. Sounds perfect. I drove home in the early afternoon. The house felt different, emptier, but not in a bad way. Diana had taken the guest room furniture and some kitchen stuff. I didn't mind. That evening, Grandma Barb called. I heard it's final. As of this morning. How are you holding up? Better than expected, honestly. I feel relieved. Good. That's how you should feel. You did the right thing. Have you talked to her? Not yet. I'm still angry, but I will eventually. She's my granddaughter. I love her, but I don't like what she did to you. She knows she messed up, for what that's worth. It's worth something. Not enough to fix the marriage, but something. We talked for a while longer. She invited me to Christmas dinner, which surprised me. You don't have to do that, I said. I want to. Your family, divorce or not. Plus, it'll drive her crazy. I laughed. I appreciate the offer, but I think I'll pass. Let her have her family back. I don't need to make things more complicated. You're a better person than most. She's lucky you're being so graceful about all this. I'm just ready to move on. After we hung up, I sat in the living room with a beer and looked around. This was my space now, completely mine. No more walking on eggshells. No more criticism disguised as jokes. No more wondering if I was good enough. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through messages. A few friends had reached out after hearing about the divorce. One buddy invited me to a poker night next week. Another suggested grabbing lunch. I responded to both. Yes to poker, yes to lunch, yes to moving forward. The house was quiet, but it was a good quiet. The kind where you can actually think. The kind where you can breathe. 6 months later, I'm doing better than I have in years. The garage is busier than ever. Word gets around in a small community, and apparently standing up for yourself earns respect. I repainted the guest room and turned it into a proper home office. Bought some new furniture, made the place feel like it actually belongs to me instead of just being a space I occupied. Work has been good. Same routine, but without the constant stress of going home to criticism, everything feels lighter. My regular customers notice the change. Old Pete, who brings in his '78 Chevy every few months, told me I seemed more focused. Even my parts supplier, Carlos, mentioned I looked more relaxed when he stopped by last week. I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during the marriage. Poker nights became a regular thing with the guys from high school. Started going to the gym with my buddy Walter from the tool shop. Nothing crazy, just staying active and getting out of the house. Grandma Barb and I stayed in touch. She calls every few weeks to check in. She eventually started talking to Diana again, but keeps those conversations separate from ours. She's doing okay, Grandma Barb told me last month. Got her own apartment, finally dealing with those loans herself. She asks about you sometimes. What do you tell her? That you're doing well, because you are. I ran into Linda at the grocery store recently. It was awkward for about 10 seconds, then she smiled. You look good, she said. Thanks. How have you been? Good. Busy with the grandkids? She paused. I'm glad you're doing well. You deserve it. We chatted for a few more minutes before going our separate ways. It wasn't uncomfortable, just two people who used to be connected, acknowledging that life moves on. I never run into Diana directly. I heard through Grandma Barb that she's working at a smaller dealership now, paying her own bills, going to therapy regularly. Part of me is glad she's getting help. Another part of me doesn't care either way. She's not my responsibility anymore. By spring, I barely thought about the marriage. When I did, it felt like remembering something that happened to someone else. The guy who paid his wife's loans while she told everyone he was useless felt like a different person. I'm not that guy anymore. One Saturday in April, I was working in the yard when my neighbor Roger walked over. "Hey, I'm having a barbecue next weekend. You should come. Bring whoever." "I'll be there. Just me, though." "Works for me. Julie's sister will be there. She's single if you're interested." I laughed. "I'm not looking for anything right now." "Fair enough. Offer stands if you change your mind." The barbecue was easy and casual. Roger's sister-in-law was nice. We talked about work and music and nothing heavy. She gave me her number. I said I'd text her. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. The point was, I could. I was free to make that choice without worrying about what someone else thought or how they'd spin it to their family. That night, I sat on my back deck with a beer and looked at the yard. I'd planted some new trees in March. They were small now, but they'd grow. I'd be here to see it. My phone buzzed, a text from Grandma Barb. "Thinking about you. Hope you're well." I smiled and typed back, "Doing great. Thanks for everything. You're a good man. Don't forget that." I set the phone down and finished my beer. The sun was setting, turning everything orange and pink. It was quiet except for birds and the distant sound of someone working on their car. This is my life now. Simple, peaceful, mine, no drama, no criticism, no walking on eggshells or wondering if I'm enough. I'm enough. I've always been enough. It just took losing someone who couldn't see it to finally believe it myself. That Thanksgiving dinner feels like it happened to someone else now. But I'm grateful it happened. Grateful that Grandma Barb cared enough to speak up. Grateful that I listened. Grateful that I had the strength to walk away instead of accepting scraps and calling it love. I got up, locked the back door, and headed inside. Tomorrow I was meeting Walter for breakfast, then working on some projects around the house. Normal stuff. Good stuff. Life was exactly what it should be.